Peace be with you, everyone. Welcome to my channel. My name is Trevor. Really grateful to have you here, and today's video is a very special list. I've got 5 hidden gem fragrances for the month of June. A little late getting posted. June's almost over, but I think these are perfect candidates to articulate that sort of green summertime vibe. And I'm just going to start off with the first in the list. This is perfumed by Anique Minardo, master perfumer. This is really more of a kind of artistic fragrance, so it might not be one you want to pick up if you've got a small collection, but if you're a fan of Anique Minardo's work or you want to try something a little bit different, this is definitely niche in that sense, but you can find fragrances from this house for right around the $40 range. This is Peau d'Allures, and what you get here is really kind of like a potting soil with musk. Think sort of like the musks that you get in Blue Noir from Narciso Rodriguez, with just straight potting soil that you bought from Lowe's or Menards or Home Depot. Really interesting stuff. It's also got a little bit of an ambery, sweet warmth to it down in the base. As you can see, I actually have a pretty good dent level in this. I do enjoy wearing it, but it is, I don't know, it's a very strange fragrance on my skin. Sometimes it's like incredibly just very artistic. Like I said, you know, it smells like potting soil, so it's kind of like strange, but then that musky quality in it makes it sort of a wearable cologne. But sometimes I do get a little nauseous with this after it's been going for too long. I think Justin Copeland kind of says that about Hawass, where it's like a song that just plays on repeat forever. So this is a very linear fragrance in that sense, and it's kind of thick. So I think it'd be great for a day like today. We've got a lot of smoke in the air from those fires in Canada right now. We actually had an advisory warning to say inside because the air quality is so low. Yeah, it's kind of one of these more foggy sort of days in the summertime where it's still warm, but the sun is a little bit kind of taken aback, so that way this is probably, I do really enjoy wearing this in high humidity, strangely enough, but maybe not high sunshine or high heat. Like when the sun is beating off my skin, this does get a little bit cloying, but otherwise definitely a unique green fragrance. I think it translates to skin elsewhere. They've got another one in the line called Peau de Pierre, which is like stone skin. This is like kind of like alien skin. Like I said, potting soil, musk, and Anique Minardo is a perfumer, so. And I think you can find this for right around $40, so check this one out if you're interested in an artistic fragrance or want to try something new. But that being said, moving on, I'm going to go with probably the next most difficult to pull off, but still worth checking out, I would say. I think this one might have been discontinued, but you can find it for around $40 on MERCARI and eBay. And this is Sweetbriar Moss from Clean. This is in their Reserve line, so these bottles are a little bit more upscale than some of the other ones that come in. I think I've recommended the laundry, the Clean Laundry. I think that's the name of it on this channel before. It comes in a different bottle style, but what you get with this is kind of like, it runs in the same vein as Toy Boy. So it kind of has that same rose in here. This is just a little bit more fresh, a little bit more green. To a certain degree, a little bit more wearable. It wears a lot like Toy Boy. You have rose in here, and it's a very fresh green, almost watery, dewy type rose. There are some surrounding peppery notes. I think there's a Sichuan pepper note in here. But it wears just a lot more bright and a lot more fresh than Toy Boy. But it is also a lot less dynamic and attention grabbing, I would say. So, you know, Toy Boy can be divisive of a fragrance. This, I don't think, is as loud or it doesn't make as much of a statement. This is kind of a very inoffensive style rose, but it's very fresh, very green. The only takeaway from this is that it to a certain degree it could smell not quite like a cologne. It just smells very fresh, like walking into a greenhouse. So you just get that very natural smelling rose with a little bit of greenery, and yeah, and it's perfectly unisex as well. I could see either a man or a woman pulling this off, although I have seen the comment section on a lot of the review sites like Fragrantica and Parfumo saying that the women that have tried this find it a little bit too masculine. But yeah, perfectly great fresh rose fragrance, kind of in the same vein as Toy Boy. Doesn't smell identical, but it captures some of the same accords as that, and is a little bit more fresh and more wearable for the high heat, in my opinion. So definitely check this one out. This is Sweetbriar and Moss from Clean. Okay, next, the next most wearable one in this list is probably the most hidden of the hidden gems here, and this is going to be Green Rain from Enrico G. I recently featured this on a top 7 affordable barbecue fragrances, and I picked this for the barbecue because it is fresh, it is invigorating, it is zingy, it is fruity, it is fun. Not quite my style per se. It's like it has some youthfulness to it from the fruity sweetness in here, and then it also has a little bit of an effeminate quality from this kind of soapy, shampoo-y vibe in here. So I do have quite a dent in here. It's just not quite in line with my personal tastes, which are a little bit more bitter, a little bit more mature. But still a great fragrance. I liken this to Parfums de Marly Greenly and Bohemian Lime from Goldfield and Banks. It wears similarly to those two fragrances, just a very tart, juicy, almost sour kind of green citrus. That's what's going on in here. You also get a powdery dry down with cedar and iris, and then a really nice fruity medley with some papaya and peach, as well as some green notes from a tomato leaf accord in here. So this is a very complex fragrance, very unique, pretty high quality in terms of the smell of ingredients. There is a slight synthetic tinge, but it's not overbearing in any way. I think it's what kind of ferments the soapy kind of shampoo vibe that's in here. It's very similar to Greenly, if you ask me, but this is at like a tenth of the price. You can find this for like $38 on FragranceNet. So yeah, peachy, powdery with the peach and iris, and then the unique tomato leaf accord, which is done very well in here, which is one of the reasons why I do like wearing this. Tomato leaves is just like a unique note that you don't see that often, and it's something I garden with tomatoes, so I really enjoy that green stem leafy scent profile that it gives off, and this does a great job of that. The only takeaway from this one, however, is that I get about 3 hours tops on the longevity, but I also only get 3 hours on Eau Givre from Hermes, so this might last longer for you on your skin. And like I said, it is one of the best, most diverse fragrance journeys of a wearing experience out of any Cheapie I own. So you get a very distinct top, a very distinct mid, and a very distinct dry down in the wearing experience of this fragrance, probably more so than any Cheapie in my entire collection. So definitely worth checking this one out. It is a hidden gem. They're not even on Fragrantica right now, and while it is on Parfumo, they don't have any reviews yet. So if you're looking to try something new, this is definitely worth having on your radar. That's Enrico G. Green Rain. Okay, and these last two are definitely the most wearable, the ones that I get the most wear out of, and like the least artistic, and the two that I would recommend picking up if you have a smaller collection or are, you know, not looking for something artistic per se. This next one here, I also featured in the barbecue list, and that is going to be Herbe Naturelle from Urban Outfitters. So this is a 30 ml bottle, and you can get these for $25 on Amazon right now. I also have seen these bottles from Urban Outfitters out at the rack stores, and they come down to about half the price for these 30 mls. So you can usually find these for about like $12 out there. Which, if you get them at the rack stores and you happen to have more than one, you can scrap together 3 of these for 36 bucks. I know Swain Swaggy Scents, shout out to Gerald, I know you did that with the Oud Sahara from these. But what this fragrance is essentially a clone of an old 90s fragrance, which is Gap Grass, which is a fragrance I have not smelled. Bottles are going upward of $200 on eBay right now, but I know that Robes08, while it was an old video of his, at the time he said it was the best grass fragrance in the game. And I have to agree, this is a perfectly pleasant wearing experience. It opens up a little bit feminine, but that opening dries down pretty immediately. And what you get left with is kind of like a cucumber melon grass shavings. Really nice and fruity. I think they list pear as the fruit note in here on Fragrantica, but it definitely has sort of a melony vibe to it as well. That's what my wife said, at least. She smelled it in the air, and she said it smelled like cucumber melon fragrances from the 90s, which is what Gap Grass would have been. Very pleasant wearing experience, green, fruity, fresh. Yeah, can't really go wrong with this one. It's perfectly unisex, but also there's something that is super fun, and the greenery kind of takes the fruitiness out of being playful and youthful and then keeps it in line with a sort of kind of bitter vibe that mingles with the fruit that makes a well-balanced fragrance, in my opinion. So definitely check this one out. That's Herbe Naturelle from Urban Outfitters. And the last one on this list is one that I featured many times on the channel. Maybe not so much of a hidden gem as these other four, but I thought to mention it because it doesn't get mentioned in men's lists that often because it is a woman's fragrance, but I think it's perfectly unisex. Perfumed by Alberto Morillas, that is Versace Versense. Perhaps no stranger to the channel if you're familiar with my content, but definitely want to mention this one often because it is a recent love of mine. I picked this up at the rack store for $39.99. For this 100 ml, you can usually get testers for under that amount, but you can get the full presentation online for around $50. And this is essentially Alberto Morillas' take on Olivier Cresp's Mano Fresh. So this is sort of the woman's marketed version of Versace Mano Fresh, as well as Michelle Almerac's Mont Blanc Star Walker. So this kind of has that same DNA, but it has more depth to it with an added floral component, an added green woody component. There's a unique olive note in here, or an olive tree note, that gives it this green woody, slightly oily vibe, if you ask me. That could just be me making associations with like olive oil arbitrarily because it's an olive wood, not like the fruit, but I do get a little bit of an olivey or an oily texture while wearing this, and it's just such a beautiful, refreshing, and green fragrance. So this is like something that I would reach for in those high heat situations when I want a sparkly citrus, but it keeps some floral and green components in here, which makes it really a unique wearing experience compared to some of my other like overtly citrusy fragrances that can get a little redundant, you know, like reaching for Acqua di Parma Colonia or Eau Sauvage Cologne or Givenchy Gentleman Cologne. Like there's some slight nuances to those, but they're really just kind of citrus bombs. But this one has that unique green floral touch to it that I really appreciate about it, and is definitely my #1 most recommended hidden gem green fragrance for the month of June. That is under $50. So those are my 5 hidden gems picks for summertime greens and the month of June. I think you can get all of these for right around under $50 if you look hard enough. I'll try to link some spots online where I found them at. And let me know if you tried any of these. Let me know if you've got any hidden gem recommendations for this upcoming summer season or the month of June. And as always, I appreciate you so much for sticking with me to the end of the video. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.